Thank you for listening to Shulchanaruchharav.com.
Supporting Jewish businesses. The obligation to do business with a fellow Jew, to buy, sell, invest, or hire Jews as opposed to Gentiles. Is there any halachic requirement to do so? Or is it a matter of just good advice and social standings? Under which circumstances would this ruling apply? And so on and so forth. So in today's business world, the new world of commerce, in where the whole world has become connected through the internet, in business and buying and selling, the subject of supporting Jewish businesses becomes all the more relevant than it already was in previous times. For example, if the local Jewish shop in the neighborhood is selling a refrigerator for $2,000, and I found the same brand on an online store for $1,500, owned by a guy, am I required to buy it from the Jew? Now what if it's the same exact price, but I feel more comfortable buying it from the Gentile store owner for whatever reason? Or in another example, shopping for groceries. I have a choice to go to the Heimische shop, which sells kosher products, owned by local Yidden, or to go to the big supermarket, which has a lot more products that I can purchase, and they also cater to a kosher eating crowd, however the supermarket is not Jewish owned. What about renting? If I'm renting an item or some real estate and I have a Jew versus a Gentile bidder to rent it, do I have to precede rental to the Jew? If I want to hire an employee and there's a Jewish versus a Gentile candidate for the position, must I hire the Jew? Must I search for a Jewish employee? And so on and so forth. So this halacha will be split into two sections. In the first part, which we will do here, we will discuss the general obligation and some of its detailed cases of application. In Mirz Hashem, in a future lesson, we will discuss the detailed laws relevant to when there is a difference in price, convenience, or quality between the product or work of the Jew versus the Gentile, and what would be the law in such cases. So we have an explicit ruling in the Sifra, Parshas Bahar, Parsha 3, recorded in Rashi in Parshas Bahar, chapter 25, Pasuk 14, on the Pasuk, V'chisimkaru mimkar la misecha, oikane miyad misecha, al tainu ish es achiv, which translates as, when you sell or purchase from your brother, do not cheat him. The above mentioned Sifra learns, to quote his words, from where do we learn that if one sells a product, that he should only sell it to a colleague, a Jew? From this verse is coming to teach us not just that you shouldn't cheat a Jew in business and steal his money and not pay up debts and loans, but that when you want to sell a product and you have a Jew versus a Gentile potential customer, you should sell it to the Jew. Ki simkar mimkar la misecha. Likewise, continues the Sifra, from where do we learn that if one buys a product, that he should only buy from a colleague, from a Jew? From the verse, Kana miyad misecha. And concludes the Sifra, from where do we know that this applies not just to movable objects, not just to real estate, but even to movable objects, to all merchandise, from the word memkar. So here we have an explicit source in the Medrash, the Sifra, the Teres Kayanim, that says that you are required, seemingly biblically, to precede purchasing from a Jew versus a Gentile, to precede selling to a Jew versus a Gentile. Now, while this sounds like a very solid source, there's one problem. Go through the entire Talmud, from one Masechta after another. Go through the entire Shulchan Aruch, from beginning to end, and you will find no mention of this quoted teaching of the Sifra. The Talmud and the Code of Laws were written for the sake of relaying all the Jewish laws to the Jewish people. And if a law is not written there, that is very strange, and perhaps begs the conclusion that indeed the above mentioned statements from the Sifra are not held of according to halacha and are not in force. Well, indeed, the Paiskim deal with these issues, and we find a debate, a dispute, as to how to view this teaching and if it should be viewed as an actual ruling, halacha l'maisa, that must be followed, an obligation, or not. Some Paiskim learn that being that it was omitted from the Talmud and Shulchan Aruch, thereby it's not considered an obligation, but simply good advice. And while from the letter of the law you can do whatever you want, buy or sell, Jew, Gentile, it's good advice to buy and sell to Jews to support their businesses. Who holds this way? So is the opinion of the Psikta Zutrasan Bahar, So writes the Levush in 159.1 that the above verse in the Sifra is a Mirach Smachta. So writes the Chikrei Lev in Choshen Mishpat 139. So writes the Marsham in Choshen Mishpat 189, Yaskel Avdi, and others. However, the vast majority of G'dolei HaPoskim do not agree with this view and conclude that although the statement was omitted from the Shulchan Aruch for whatever reason, it is halachically binding and an absolute obligation on every Jew to follow, to support Jewish businesses and proceed buying and selling from and to a Jew versus a Gentile. Who rules this way? So rules the Ramah, a famous Tshuva in Tshuva 10 regarding a court case that took place between Maram Padva versus a certain Gentile who both of them published a Rambam, a set of Rambam, they were selling it. The Ramah rules there that one must proceed to buy from the Jew, from Maram Padvan, is not allowed to buy from the Gaisha publisher. And one of his reasons is because of this Sifra, that one is obligated to proceed doing business with a Jew and buying from a Jew. So likewise rules the Tashbeitz in volume 3, Shuva 151. So is the implication of the Chassam Sefer, the Pischei Tshuva, the Maram Shik. So rules the Chafetz Chaim in the Sefer Avas Chesed, chapter 5, halacha 6. And so is the evident ruling of many of the Achreinim and Peiskei Dereinu, such as the Minchas Yitzchak in volume 3, Tshuva 129, and others, that this matter is an absolute obligation and not just goodwill and good advice. And practically so is the final halacha. In Mir Tashem, in the second part of this series, we will discuss the detailed cases of obligation and if it applies when there's a difference in cost, price, quality, convenience, etc. between the Jew and the Gentile businesses.
Thank you for listening to Shulchanaruchharav.com. Our free services of making Torah knowledge available to the public depends on donors like you. Please help us continue our work through making even a small contribution at Shulchanaruchharav.com under the Daily Halacha Dedication section or in the subscription page. Also, check out our online courses and many Sefarim available for purchase that will both enhance your Torah knowledge and help support our work.